Good morning, afternoon, evening, everyone. Life is a journey of growth, self-discovery, and meaningful relationships. But as we navigate this path, we must make conscious choices about the people we allow into our lives. Intelligent individuals understand that not everyone deserves a seat at their table. They recognize that some people hinder progress, drain energy, and disturb peace. There are two types of men that a wise person silently removes from their life: the deceptive manipulator and the negative drainer. Let's discuss why these individuals are toxic and why cutting them off is an act of wisdom rather than cruelty. An intelligent person understands that the people they surround themselves with play a crucial role in shaping their mindset, emotions, and overall success in life. They know that relationships are not just about socializing but about energy exchange. Who you spend time with can either build you up or tear you down. This is why they are extremely selective about the individuals they allow into their personal, professional circles. They recognize that every interaction has an impact, whether positive or negative. If they spend time with ambitious, supportive, and uplifting individuals, they are more likely to adopt a growth-oriented mindset, feel inspired, and push themselves towards success. However, if they surround themselves with toxic, manipulative, or overly negative people, their confidence, productivity, and peace of mind will suffer. Intelligent people do not make relationship decisions impulsively. Instead, they observe people's behavior, assess their intentions, and evaluate their long-term impact on their well-being. They understand that just because someone has been in their life for a long time does not mean they are beneficial. Sometimes, even close friends, family members, or colleagues can be sources of negativity or emotional harm. A wise person does not hesitate to distance themselves from those who drain their energy, undermine their self-worth, or hinder their personal development. Furthermore, intelligent individuals practice emotional intelligence and self-awareness. They listen to their intuition when something feels off in a relationship. They pay attention to subtle red flags, small lies, passive-aggressive behavior, constant complaints, or a lack of genuine support. Rather than ignoring these warning signs or making excuses for toxic people, they take action to protect their peace and emotional health. By carefully choosing who they associate with, intelligent people ensure that their relationships contribute to their happiness, success, and personal growth rather than becoming a source of stress, confusion, or self-doubt. Intelligent individuals understand that maintaining peace of mind and personal growth requires making tough decisions about the people they allow into their lives. While they may be kind-hearted and willing to help others, they are not naive. They recognize that some individuals are not simply difficult but actively harmful, and no amount of reasoning, confrontation, or emotional investment will change them. Instead of engaging in endless conflicts, arguments, or attempts to fix these individuals, an intelligent person chooses the most effective method: silently walking away. The first type they remove is the deceptive manipulator. This is the kind of person who operates with hidden motives, always seeking personal gain at the expense of others. He might appear charming, friendly, or even caring, but beneath the surface he is calculating and self-serving. The manipulator plays mind games, distorts the truth, and preys on emotions to maintain control. He will make others feel guilty for questioning his intentions, shift blame when confronted, and always present himself as the victim when exposed. An intelligent person does not waste time trying to prove a manipulator wrong or seeking an apology that will never come. They understand that manipulators do not change, they simply refine their tactics. Instead of engaging in emotional battles or giving endless chances, they silently cut ties and remove themselves from the situation, knowing that no explanation is necessary for someone who never intended to be honest in the first place. The second type they eliminate is the negative drainer. Unlike the manipulator, this person may not be intentionally harmful, but his presence is equally destructive. The negative drainer is someone who constantly complains, focuses on the worst aspects of life, and discourages progress. He is the kind of person who sees obstacles instead of opportunities, problems instead of solutions. His energy is toxic, not in an obvious aggressive way, but in a slow, draining manner that chips away at motivation and enthusiasm. Negative drainers are often full of excuses. They resist change, fear growth, and sabotage the success of those around them, sometimes out of jealousy, sometimes out of deep-seated insecurity. An intelligent person realizes that associating with such individuals means constantly battling their negativity, which can be exhausting and counterproductive. Instead of arguing or attempting to uplift them, efforts that often go in vain, they choose to distance themselves quietly. The reason intelligent people cut these two types of men off in silence is simple. Confrontation rarely leads to change. The manipulator will lie, twist words and play the victim, while the negative drainer will complain, argue or deny his behavior, instead of wasting valuable energy in endless conversations that lead nowhere. An intelligent person chooses self-preservation. They simply remove themselves from the relationship. No arguments, no explanations, just quiet and decisive action. One of the most dangerous individuals an intelligent person encounters in life is the deceptive manipulator, a man who thrives on dishonesty, mind games and control. He does not operate with openness or integrity. Instead, he uses deceit to twist reality and influence others for his own gain. His tactics may not always be obvious, but his impact is deeply damaging to anyone who falls into his web of manipulation. A manipulator does not approach his victims with open hostility. Instead, he often disguises his true intentions behind charm, kindness, and even fake concern. He appears trustworthy, offering what seems like support or friendship, but everything he does is calculated. He carefully studies people's weaknesses, desires, and insecurities, using this knowledge to his advantage. Whether in relationships, business, or friendships, his goal is always the same: to control, exploit, and benefit at the expense of others. One of the key ways the manipulator operates is through lies and half-truths. He rarely tells a blatant falsehood, but instead distorts reality just enough to make others doubt their own judgment. He withholds important information, bends the truth to suit his narrative, and makes others feel as if they are overreacting when they sense something is wrong. He is skilled at gaslighting, making his victims question their own perceptions, memory, and even sanity. This mental manipulation keeps people trapped, second-guessing themselves rather than recognizing the toxicity of his behavior. Another powerful tool the manipulator wields is emotional control. He plays with emotions, knowing that people are more vulnerable when they are confused, guilty, or fearful. If someone confronts him, he skillfully shifts the blame, turning the situation around to make himself look like the victim. He will say things like, "I can't believe you don't trust me after everything I've done for you," or "You're being too sensitive, I was just joking." His goal is to make others feel guilty for questioning him, so they begin to doubt their own instincts. Furthermore, the manipulator is an expert at wearing different masks depending on what serves him best. In one setting, he may act like a responsible leader, a caring friend, or a loving partner. In another, he may be ruthless, deceitful, and entirely self-serving. This dual nature allows him to maintain his influence, as people often struggle to reconcile the good side they have seen with the manipulative reality they later experience. What makes this type of person even more dangerous is that he does not care about the damage he causes, whether he ruins someone's self-esteem, creates chaos in relationships, or destroys trust. He remains unaffected as long as his personal goals are met. He thrives on control and is willing to betray, deceive, and emotionally exhaust those around him to maintain it. An intelligent person, however, learns to see through these tactics. They recognize when someone's words do not align with their actions. They understand that real trust is built on honesty and consistency, not on empty promises and emotional games. Instead of engaging in endless debates with a manipulator or giving repeated chances, they take the smartest approach. They cut them off silently. They do not give explanations because manipulators will twist any discussion into an opportunity for further deception. They simply walk away, knowing that no relationship is worth sacrificing their peace, confidence, or sense of reality. An intelligent person understands that arguing with a manipulator is like trying to reason with a storm. It's chaotic, unpredictable, and ultimately futile. No matter how logical or fact-based their arguments may be, manipulators are not interested in the truth. They are interested in control. They do not engage in discussions to resolve conflicts or to gain mutual understanding. Instead, they twist words, shift blame, and exhaust others emotionally. This is why wise individuals do not waste their time fighting battles that cannot be won. Instead, they quietly walk away. One of the key reasons engaging with manipulators is a waste of energy is because they do not fight fair. When confronted, a manipulator will never admit to wrongdoing. Instead, they will employ a variety of psychological tactics to escape accountability. They will gaslight, lie, deflect, and even play the victim to turn the situation in their favor. If an intelligent person tries to reason with them, the manipulator will drag them into an endless cycle of arguments, confusion, and self-doubt. For example, if someone calls out a manipulator on their deception, instead of admitting their fault, they will say things like, "Why are you overreacting? You always exaggerate things. You're the one causing problems, not me. I never said that. You're just remembering it wrong. After everything I've done for you, this is how you treat me?" By doing this, the manipulator successfully shifts attention away from their wrongdoing and places the burden of guilt on the other person. They thrive on emotional exhaustion, draining the energy of those who try to hold them accountable. Another reason engaging with manipulators is useless is that they are masters of deception. They will always find a way to twist the narrative in their favor, no matter how much evidence is presented against them. If they are caught lying, they will simply create a more elaborate lie to cover the first one. If someone tries to make them see reason, they will pretend to agree in the moment, only to continue their manipulative behavior later. This is why intelligent people do not seek closure from manipulators, because they understand that true closure comes from within, not from a dishonest person. They do not wait for an apology or expect the manipulator to suddenly change. Instead, they accept reality for what it is and walk away in silence. Furthermore, engaging in long drawn-out conflicts with manipulators can be mentally and emotionally exhausting. It drains energy that could be better spent on personal growth, meaningful relationships, and self-improvement. An intelligent person values their peace too much to allow a manipulator to take up space in their mind. They know that the best response to manipulation is no response at all. By choosing silence over confrontation, they take away the manipulator's power. Manipulators thrive on reaction, whether it's anger, frustration, or even attempts to explain. But when an intelligent person simply disappears from their life without warning, without argument, without explanation, the manipulator loses their ability to control the situation. They are left confused, unable to manipulate further, and forced to move on. Ultimately, intelligent individuals understand that some battles are not worth fighting. Silence is not weakness, it is wisdom. It is the ultimate act of self-respect and self-preservation. Rather than wasting precious time and energy on someone who will never change, they choose the path of quiet detachment, ensuring that their peace, confidence, and dignity remain intact. While some negative people are easy to identify, the negative drainer is often more subtle in their toxicity. They may not be aggressive, manipulative, or openly hostile, but their constant pessimism, self-doubt, and discouraging words slowly chip away at the confidence and ambition of those around them. Intelligent people recognize that these individuals do not just complain about their own problems. They also cast doubt on the dreams, plans, and successes of others. That is why an intelligent person distances themselves from negative drainers before their toxic energy becomes a barrier to personal growth. Negative drainers see life through a lens of hopelessness and defeat. No matter how good an opportunity may be, they will find a reason to criticize it. They always have an excuse for why something won't work, why trying is pointless, or why failure is inevitable. Instead of offering encouragement or constructive advice, they respond to ambition with phrases like, "That sounds like too much work. Are you sure it's worth it? Most people fail at that, so don't get your hopes up. I wouldn't risk it. You might regret it later. Things never work out for people like us." At first, their words might seem harmless or even well-intentioned. However, over time, their constant negativity begins to infect the mindset of those around them. The intelligent person understands that mindset is everything. Success requires confidence, optimism, and the belief that growth is possible. But when a negative drainer is always present, it becomes harder to maintain that sense of motivation. Negative drainers not only discourage others but also refuse to improve their own lives. Instead of taking action to change their circumstances, they prefer to complain about them. They view themselves as victims of life, blaming society, luck, or other people for their failures, rather than taking responsibility. What makes them especially harmful is that they expect others to share in their misery. If someone around them expresses excitement about a new job, a passion project, or an opportunity, the negative drainer will react with skepticism, doubt, or even jealousy. Intelligent individuals recognize that negativity is contagious. Just like enthusiasm and ambition, pessimism can spread. If someone is surrounded by people who constantly doubt, complain, and fear change, it becomes much harder to maintain a positive and ambitious mindset. Even the strongest minds can be worn down by continuous exposure to negativity. What makes the negative drainer even more difficult to deal with is that they often do not see themselves as negative. They believe they are just being realistic or practical. However, intelligence allows people to see the difference between constructive realism and habitual pessimism. Realism acknowledges challenges but also seeks solutions. A negative drainer, on the other hand, only focuses on problems without ever considering ways to overcome them. The intelligent person understands that in order to grow, they must surround themselves with positive, motivated and forward-thinking individuals. They need people who uplift, encourage and support their dreams, not those who weigh them down with doubt and fear. The decision to distance oneself from a negative drainer is not about cruelty. It is about self-preservation. It is about choosing to be in an environment that fosters success rather than one that stifles it. The negative drainer will not always understand why an intelligent person is pulling away. They may even accuse them of being unsupportive or selfish. However, an intelligent individual knows that guarding their mental and emotional space is necessary for personal progress. Rather than wasting time trying to change the negative drainer's mindset, they simply step away, choosing to invest their energy in people who believe in possibilities rather than limitations. The impact of a negative drainer is often not immediate or obvious. Unlike overtly toxic people, they do not attack or manipulate in direct ways. Instead, they gradually instill doubt, fear, and hesitation in the minds of those around them. Their negativity is persistent and insidious, creeping into conversations and subtly influencing decisions. Over time, their pessimism can cause even the most ambitious individuals to second-guess themselves, hesitate before taking risks, and ultimately remain stuck in a cycle of inaction. An intelligent person recognizes that success and progress require a strong mindset, self-belief and resilience. However, negative drainers chip away at these qualities in a quiet yet destructive manner. They do not outright say, "You will fail," but they plant small seeds of doubt, such as, "That's really risky. Are you sure you can handle it? I heard most people fail when they try that. Maybe you should wait a little longer before making a decision. I wouldn't do that if I were you." These statements may seem like simple concerns or even friendly advice, but over time they have a cumulative effect. If someone constantly hears reasons why something might not work, their natural confidence starts to erode. Even if they were once sure of themselves, they may begin to hesitate, delay taking action, or abandon their ambitions altogether. Negative drainers also reinforce a limited mindset. They operate from a place of fear and scarcity, believing that success is only for a select few and that struggle is inevitable. Instead of encouraging solutions or new approaches, they discourage change and progress. If someone around them wants to improve their career, start a business or pursue a personal goal, the negative drainer will highlight every possible challenge without acknowledging the potential for success. For example, if a friend wants to start a new business, the negative drainer will say, "Businesses fail all the time. Do you really want to take that risk? You need a lot of money to start something like that. It's probably not worth it. It's better to just stick with what you know." By doing this, they instill fear of failure in the minds of those who listen to them. Instead of motivating others to find ways to succeed, they encourage stagnation and playing it safe. Intelligent people, however, know that success often requires stepping outside of one's comfort zone, embracing risks, and pushing forward despite uncertainty. Another way negative drainers undermine progress is by projecting their own fears and insecurities onto others. They are often dissatisfied with their own lives, but instead of taking action to improve their situation, they justify their lack of progress by convincing themselves and others that success is unrealistic. They assume that because they have struggled or failed, others will too. Rather than seeking self-improvement, they try to keep everyone around them at the same level, preventing them from moving forward. Intelligent people recognize this pattern and refuse to be held back by the fears of others. They understand that just because someone else does not believe in possibilities does not mean those possibilities do not exist. They choose to surround themselves with people who inspire, encourage, and uplift them rather than those who subtly sabotage their confidence. Furthermore, intelligent individuals know that success is not just about talent or opportunity, it is also about mindset and environment. If they continue to engage with negative drainers, their energy and motivation will be drained, making it harder to stay focused and determined. That is why they make the conscious decision to remove themselves from these relationships. Not with anger, not with arguments, but with quiet and deliberate action. They do not waste time explaining why they are distancing themselves, because they know that negative drainers will not understand. Instead, they choose growth, ambition and positivity over self-doubt, stagnation and fear. They protect their peace, guard their confidence and keep moving forward, knowing that their success depends on the company they keep. An intelligent person understands that not every battle is worth fighting, and not every person deserves an explanation. When they recognize that someone is toxic, manipulative or draining, they do not waste their time trying to argue, fix or convince them to change. Instead, they do something far more powerful. They walk away in silence. Many people believe that in order to cut someone off, there must be a dramatic confrontation, a heated argument, or a final discussion where everything is laid out. However, intelligent individuals know that in many cases, confrontation only fuels the toxicity further. Instead of resolving the issue, it often leads to more manipulation. The manipulative person will twist the situation, deny their behavior or turn it around to make the intelligent person feel guilty. Pointless arguments, instead of understanding their flaws, toxic individuals will become defensive, making excuses and creating unnecessary conflict. Unfinished emotional entanglement, confrontations can create a false sense of hope that things will change, leading to more wasted time and emotional exhaustion. Rather than engaging in this cycle, intelligent people choose silent detachment. They do not give the manipulator a chance to argue. They do not allow the negative drainer to guilt-trip them into staying. They simply remove themselves from the equation, without drama, without explanations, without giving the other person a chance to pull them back in. One of the biggest reasons intelligent people choose silence over confrontation is because toxic individuals do not genuinely listen. When a person is deeply manipulative, narcissistic or negative, they are not interested in understanding others or changing their behavior. They are only interested in maintaining control. If an intelligent person tries to explain why they are leaving, the toxic individual will use gaslighting, blame shifting and emotional guilt to turn the conversation in their favor. Instead of acknowledging their faults, they will act as if they are the victim and accuse the intelligent person of being selfish. Say that the intelligent person is overreacting or being too sensitive. Pretend to agree but never actually change their ways. Try to provoke an emotional reaction so they can regain control. By choosing silence, the intelligent person takes away the toxic person's power. There is nothing for them to argue against, nothing for them to manipulate, and no emotional response for them to feed on. This leaves the manipulator or negative individual confused, unable to retaliate effectively. Additionally, intelligent individuals understand that silence is a form of self-respect. Instead of lowering themselves to the level of toxic individuals, arguing, fighting, or begging for basic decency, they choose to uphold their dignity by quietly walking away. They refuse to engage in negativity, proving that their energy is too valuable to waste on people who do not appreciate it. This decision is not made out of weakness or avoidance, but out of wisdom and self-preservation. The intelligent person recognizes that some people will never change, and instead of exhausting themselves trying to force growth in someone who resists it, they focus on their own peace, progress, and well-being. By leaving without drama, they also make it clear that they are done for good. Many toxic individuals thrive on the idea that they can always manipulate their way back into someone's life, but when an intelligent person walks away without a word, they send a strong message. I do not owe you my time. I do not need to explain myself to you. I respect myself too much to entertain this anymore. This silent departure leaves no room for negotiation, no second chances, and no possibility for manipulation to continue. The toxic person is left powerless, while the intelligent individual moves forward with their energy intact, free from unnecessary drama and emotional burden. One of the defining traits of intelligent people is their ability to set firm boundaries and enforce them without seeking validation or permission. They understand that their time, energy, and mental peace are precious, and they refuse to waste them on individuals who bring nothing but negativity, manipulation, or emotional exhaustion into their lives. This is why, when they recognize that a relationship, whether it be personal, professional, or social, is harmful, they do not hesitate to walk away, and most importantly, they do so without explanation, without warnings, and without unnecessary goodbyes. Many people struggle with cutting ties because they feel the need to justify their decision. They believe they must explain why they are distancing themselves, hoping that the other person will either understand or acknowledge their wrongdoings. However, intelligent individuals know that in most cases, explanations are not only unnecessary but also counterproductive. When dealing with a toxic person, whether they are manipulative, overly negative, or emotionally draining, offering an explanation for cutting them off often results in arguments instead of understanding. Instead of taking responsibility, toxic individuals will argue, make excuses, and try to manipulate the situation in their favor. Emotional guilt-tripping. They will act hurt to play the victim or try to make the intelligent person feel guilty for leaving false promises of change. If the person being cut off realizes they are losing control, they may temporarily change their behavior just enough to lure the intelligent person back in, only to repeat their toxic patterns later. By refusing to explain themselves, intelligent people avoid all of these traps. They understand that their decision is not up for debate. They do not need permission to walk away from a situation that no longer serves them. They do not need to convince anyone that their choice is justified. They do not owe anyone an explanation for prioritizing their own well-being. The power of silent boundaries. Walking away in silence is one of the strongest forms of self-respect. It sends a clear message that the intelligent person values their own peace and mental health above all else. It also demonstrates emotional strength, because it takes courage to remove oneself from a toxic situation without looking back, without seeking closure, and without allowing the other person to manipulate their way back in. When an intelligent person walks away without explanation, they do not give the toxic individual the satisfaction of knowing they caused an emotional reaction. Instead, they disappear with quiet confidence, leaving the other person to wonder what happened, why they left, and what they could have done differently. This kind of exit is powerful because It denies the toxic person any chance to argue, manipulate, or guilt trip. It shows that the intelligent person has already made their decision and will not engage in unnecessary drama. It forces the toxic individual to reflect. Though not all of them will, some will eventually realize they lost a valuable connection due to their own actions. Breaking the cycle of toxic relationships. One of the reasons intelligent people choose silence when walking away is because they recognize toxic cycles and refuse to participate in them. Many unhealthy relationships, whether romantic, familial, or friendships, follow a predictable pattern of conflict, temporary resolution, and repeated toxicity. For example, the toxic person behaves in a way that is hurtful, manipulative, or draining. The intelligent person expresses concern or tries to set boundaries. The toxic person either ignores, dismisses, or manipulates the conversation to avoid accountability. The intelligent person is left feeling frustrated, exhausted, or doubting themselves. After some time, the cycle repeats itself. Rather than continuously participating in this destructive loop, an intelligent person recognizes the futility of trying to change someone who refuses to change. Instead of hoping for a different outcome, they choose to break the cycle by walking away permanently, without discussion, without debate, and without explanation. By doing this, they regain full control over their own life. They no longer allow someone else's negativity, manipulation, or toxic behavior to take up space in their mind. They do not wait for apologies that will never come. They do not cling to false hope that things will magically improve. They simply choose themselves over toxicity, and that choice does not need an explanation. An intelligent person understands that the people they surround themselves with have a direct impact on their mindset, ambitions, and overall quality of life. Just as a person's environment shapes their habits, their circle of influence plays a crucial role in determining their success, happiness, and emotional well-being. This is why intelligent individuals make intentional choices about whom they keep close and whom they let go of. They know that cutting off negative, toxic, and manipulative individuals is only the first step. The next step is surrounding themselves with people who uplift, inspire, and support them. Many people struggle to let go of unhealthy relationships because they are afraid of loneliness. They convince themselves that it is better to keep draining friendships or unfulfilling connections rather than risk being alone. However, intelligent individuals do not share this fear. They understand that temporary solitude is far better than long-term toxicity. They would rather walk alone for a while than be held back by people who do not align with their values, goals, or ambitions. Instead of clinging to relationships out of habit or emotional dependency, intelligent people actively seek out connections that contribute to their growth. They surround themselves with mentors and role models, people who have achieved success and are willing to share knowledge, wisdom, and guidance. Ambitious and motivated individuals, friends who challenge them to aim higher, push beyond their comfort zones, and strive for excellence. Positive and supportive people, those who celebrate their successes, encourage their dreams, and offer strength during difficult times. Emotionally mature individuals, people who communicate with honesty, respect, and understanding rather than manipulation or drama. The power of an uplifting environment. Intelligent individuals understand that energy is contagious. If they surround themselves with people who are constantly complaining, doubting, or making excuses, it becomes harder to maintain a positive and determined mindset. On the other hand, when they spend time with people who are driven, optimistic, and solution-oriented, they naturally adopt a growth-oriented mindset that propels them forward. For example, imagine two different environments. A circle of friends who constantly complain about life, talking about how unfair things are, blaming others for their problems. Over time, even a highly intelligent person will absorb some of that negativity, becoming more cynical, doubtful, and hesitant to take risks. A circle of friends who are passionate, hardworking, and always striving for success, discussing ideas, exploring opportunities, and encouraging each other to grow. In this environment, an intelligent person feels energized, motivated, and constantly inspired to improve themselves. The difference is clear. The people one chooses to associate with can either limit their potential or elevate them to new heights. Letting go of those who hold you back, one of the most challenging yet essential lessons that intelligent people learn is that not everyone is meant to stay in their life forever. Some relationships serve a purpose for a season, but when they start to become toxic, stagnant, or counterproductive, they must be let go. Holding on to relationships out of nostalgia, obligation, or fear of change only leads to frustration and missed opportunities for personal growth. This does not mean that intelligent people are cold or heartless. On the contrary, they value deep and meaningful connections. However, they also recognize when a relationship has run its course. They understand that personal growth sometimes requires outgrowing certain people, even those they once cared for deeply. For instance, a childhood friend who was once a close confidant may no longer align with their values if that friend refuses to grow, constantly makes excuses, or engages in toxic behavior. Similarly, a long-time colleague or partner who remains stuck in negative patterns of thinking may no longer fit into the intelligent person's journey towards success. When intelligent people recognize these misalignments, they do not waste time forcing relationships to work. Instead, they silently distance themselves and make room for connections that are more aligned with their future. They understand that growth sometimes means leaving behind those who refuse to grow with them. Prioritizing a mindset of continuous improvement, one of the greatest strengths of intelligent individuals, is their commitment to lifelong learning and self-improvement. They do not settle for mediocrity or comfort zones. They constantly seek to expand their knowledge, develop new skills, improve their emotional intelligence, challenge their own beliefs and perspectives. This drive for continuous improvement is only possible when they are surrounded by like-minded individuals who share a similar hunger for growth. They seek out conversations that stimulate their intellect, relationships that add value to their lives, and experiences that push them to evolve. Instead of engaging in shallow, gossip-filled or negativity-driven discussions, they prioritize meaningful exchanges with people who inspire them. They understand that every conversation, every relationship, and every environment they immerse themselves in either contributes to their growth or slows them down. Conclusion: intelligent individuals recognize that life is too short to be weighed down by toxic, manipulative, or stagnant relationships. They know that their success, happiness, and emotional well-being depend on the quality of the people they surround themselves with. This is why they make the difficult yet necessary decision to cut off those who no longer serve a positive purpose in their lives, not out of hatred, but out of self-respect. They do not waste time explaining themselves to those who refuse to change. They do not seek validation for their choices. They simply walk away from negativity and toward an environment that fosters growth, ambition, and fulfillment. In life, we all have a choice to remain surrounded by those who drain our energy, limit our potential, and keep us stuck in cycles of negativity, or to walk away and build a circle that elevates us, supports us, and inspires us, to become our best selves. Intelligent people understand that their time, peace and ambitions are too valuable to be wasted on those who do not add to their growth. Cutting off toxic individuals is not an act of cruelty, it is an act of self-respect. Walking away in silence does not mean avoiding confrontation. It means refusing to engage in unnecessary drama and choosing to surround oneself with positive, uplifting and growth-oriented people is not selfish. It is necessary for success, fulfillment and inner peace. At the end of the day, the people we keep in our lives shape our future. So let us be intentional about who we allow in our space. Let us walk away from those who do not serve our growth without guilt or hesitation. And most importantly, let us choose relationships that reflect the kind of life we want to build, one filled with purpose, success and genuine happiness.